Hello again everyone, Saka here, and today we will talk about my experience with Cyberpunk 2077 on PC. At the time of this recording, I've got 58 and a half hours on this particular game save, and first and foremost, I want to say that this is the most janked up release in recent memory for sure, especially with a game such as this, really anticipated by everyone. It was looking to be Game of the Year, and CD Projekt Red has a lot of goodwill that they need to get back after the abysmal console release of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. Thankfully, I got it on PC, and you're seeing 1080p with high graphic settings. The computer tried to do 4K, but unfortunately, the frames were dropping a lot in 4K. My rig isn't as beefy as need be. If you want to see what my rig stats are, look in the description below. But basically, I have a 1070 Ti with an i7 2500K. I also installed it on a solid state drive, so loading times are not bad. Not a whole lot of loading goes on this game, except for fast travel. And I didn't notice much texture pop in. Definitely hurts the PlayStation version for sure, but as far as the PC version in my playthrough, not a whole lot of texture popping. Some bugs that I've run into, I saw some T-posing, which the latest hotfix, I believe, should have fixed that. I'll be interested to see what the January and February patches are going to do, although I think those are console-centric, trying to help those old last-gen consoles run the game more smoothly. So I don't know if the PC will be helped, but every patch is a good patch. Another bug that I ran into that I don't know if will be fixed or if anyone knows, but I like to do the short circuit quick hack. I've built my V to be very technology based and being able to quick hack in the best cyber deck that you can possibly get and just shock enemies from afar. And one thing I noticed is during the short circuit animation, instead of flying around and flopping around like they're getting shocked, the enemies will just sort of stand there, drop their weapon. You see the drop on them, and they just stand there. There's like a little bit of electricity on their body, and then they just drop like a sack of potatoes, like it did not load that animation that it needed to load. And those are the things that sort of take you out of the experience. I've had a few triggers not actually trigger, in particular, just light spoilers here. The mission where Pan Am and the rest of the veterans take a military vehicle, they come back, and Saul is supposed to speak to Pan Am, and I got to that area, and everyone just sort of stood around looking at each other. The listen to Saul trigger did not fire, Saul did not speak, so I had to reload and autosave from before that meeting, and everything worked fine. Thankfully, I didn't run into too many of those trigger hangups, and no crashes to desktop thus far. I've seen plenty of videos of like weapons sticking to people's hands and just like sort of spawning where they shouldn't be. I didn't run into any of those with Jackie or any of that, so I've been fairly lucky with the bugs. Certainly everyone else is having some difficult times, but so far so good, fingers crossed on my system. And after about 58 and a half hours, my save file is 5.1 megabytes, and that's important because just a few days ago it was released that if your game save gets to 8 megabytes, it just won't load. Their recommendation was just to play through it once and create a new character and start from scratch, but that's not how we RPG players do. Once we have a character that we dedicate so many hours in, we like to continue that game through DLC, which if they're going to release DLC, that is a whole ball of wax that they shouldn't be getting into for sure. But I was hoping to continue this V throughout the entire playthrough. I was able to see several different endings. The way the ending works in this game is you are given a point of no return, where the game tells you that if you begin this quest, you are locked into doing the last quest of the game, and then roll credits. Once the credits have rolled, you will be sent back to an autosave just before you begun that quest, with a little bonus for completing the main story. It's important to note that if you begin that last quest and then you go to a Ripper Dock, or you purchase vehicles, or you do anything of that nature, when that autosave reloads, you lose all of the things that you have done during that last mission. So, you know, don't go hog wild when you start that last mission, finishing up and spending all of your cash, because when you reload after the credits, you won't have any of the things that you purchased. As far as being an RPG goes, though, I was hoping that the backgrounds would offer a little bit more context. These 3 backgrounds that you can start from are only maybe 20 minutes of the game tops, and then you are thrown into a montage that all backgrounds see, and then you join the main game from then on. As a corpo, I had some dialogue choices that I could choose from that I would hope made the main quest a little bit easier when dealing with Saka, but I'm sure you could get the game done just fine, or perhaps those other backgrounds would have been useful in those exact same situations that I had the corpo option for. I'm not really wanting to start a new character, although if my save game gets 8 megabytes, I'm going to have to. But it would be interesting to do a second playthrough as a different background just to see if anything substantial changes. The systems are very light in nature compared to other RPGs. I'm thinking the junk system in terms of Fallout 4, scrapping to improve your equipment. In Fallout 4, it's very specific what you need to get. If you want to improve your armor, you go out and you find adhesive, you find leather, you find screws, and you know what junk out in the wasteland to pick up and bring back to your workshop to improve. This game is like baby's first crafting system, where if you have an epic weapon that you want to improve and you find a pair of epic clothing, you break down that epic clothing or any epic item, and you can get those crafting components to upgrade any epic thing. So if you want to improve an epic weapon, find some epic pants, break those down, and turn your pants into a gun. But you really shouldn't have to, because there are so many weapons in this game and so many clothing items to pick up. It's almost a looter shooter in that case, that every camp you go to, every police activity you engage in, you know, you just pick up 20, 30 weapons, and all of a sudden you have all the crafting materials you could ever want. So it seems really light, and I could see why the reviewer of GameSpot didn't go into much detail with the crafting system, as it's not a really in-depth system to go into. Story-wise, I really enjoyed the main quest story, interacting with Johnny Silverhand, and I was very pleased with Keanu Reeves' performance. Some of the missions that you go on, he offers his opinion, and you can choose to either follow his advice or not. One thing that you could do in a playthrough is stick to Johnny completely. Anything that Johnny suggests you do, and then you could do the opposite. Anything Johnny suggests you do not do. To see if that changes Johnny's perception of you. I don't think it would affect the main story. He'll come around at the end as he normally would, I imagine, but that's not something I can speak on, as I was pretty 50-50 with Johnny. I liked some of the things he said, and then other things I did my own thing, and he reamed me out for it. But it was cool to hear his input nonetheless. I also enjoyed the NPCs that you interact with on a more personal level, like Judy was really, really cool. River was interesting to see the city from a police side of things, an investigator who's trying to find a lost family member. That was really cool, and that entire mission arc was really disturbing in a good story-driven way. Like, you really felt uneasy for good reason, and that was cool to see. Carrie, Johnny Silverhand's old bandmate from Samurai, it was cool to run into him and sort of embody Johnny for a bit, and hear some of the tales that Carrie and Johnny had in the past. That was really cool to listen to, and even playing a gig as Samurai again was pretty fun. The endings themselves, though, leave a bit to be desired. There's one basic ending that every player gets, and then depending on your relationship status with some other NPCs, those doors open up and you can do more. And then there is one that is pretty grim and gruesome, and when the credits roll, all the people that you've interacted with sort of give you a voicemail and let you know what their thoughts are for each of the endings. But the gruesome one is definitely eye-opening to hear what they thought of you after the ending credits roll. There was one I guess, decent ending. The rest of them just sort of are ho-hum. It doesn't feel rewarding as such, but you know, that's my own personal opinion. Your mileage may vary. Some things that I would like to see improved, the police AI is definitely a blemish on Cyberpunk. Shooting a police officer and picking up a light jog, running around the corner, and you're good to go. It's definitely no Grand Theft Auto, and I think Grand Theft Auto sort of sets the bar for what a wanted level is and how aggressive the police can be, and the police in Night City are nowhere near as vicious and deadly, I think, as the Grand Theft Auto police are. They tend to spawn in right in front of you in buildings that you've cleared, and that's just no way to run a railroad. Like, I'd like to see the police sort of stage outside a building. If you're wreaking havoc inside, the police are outside waiting to mow you down. Just sort of give some consequences for your actions. So if you haven't picked up this game, should you pick it up? Well, at this stage, I would say PC is definitely the best way to go, and make sure you have a beefy rig that could handle it. If you only own a PS4 or Xbox One, pass, give it a few months, and wait for the news cycles to say that, yes, the problems have been resolved, because as of right now, it's a hot mess, and you can't even get it on PlayStation Store anymore, which, you know, that's a pretty big smack in the face to CD Projekt for sure, that PSN would just pull it down because of those false promises of, hey, just go to Sony, they'll give you a refund. And Sony's like, no, that's not how this usually works. But Sony's trying to do the right thing. I think CD Projekt sort of stepped on their toes a bit and preemptively gave promises that they could not back up, which is sort of the feeling of Cyberpunk 2077 as a whole, is unfulfilled promises. I was not a hyper fan of the hype. I didn't read every little dev diary or anything of that nature. I didn't know all of the things that had apparently been cut on release. Apparently Manus Blade climbing, just sticking your Manus Blades and climbing up the side of a building. I mean, that would have been cool. I could see why it would be extremely broken. And with it not being in the game, I could see if people were imagining that, they would be pretty upset. But I really didn't have any expectations going in. I just wanted it to work, and I wanted the story to be good. And so far, it has worked mostly, and it was pretty good as a single-player experience. So if you are a PC player, definitely wait past February, I would say, at this point. Let the January patch come out, let the February patch come out, let them do some work under the hood to optimize this thing and help all versions, the console and the PC version, to run better. And even in the spring, maybe Steam will even catch it on sale, even 10 or 20% off, then definitely pick it up. It's worth a buy in a better state. It's decent enough as it is now, but you know, once they put in some patches, they do some work on it, I think it would be a very enjoyable game. And if you want to see me run more around in Night City, I am achievement hunting as of now, getting all the gigs and NCPD scanner hustles done in each area of the city. So if that's something you want to see, definitely let me know, and I can make some episodes doing the gigs and the NCPD stuff in the remaining areas that I have. But that will do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.